fill my sketchbooks more recently, so I guess it's time to see the sketchbooks, sketchpads, and sketch or art papers that I am currently using, and those that I will eventually start using. These have been accumulated for the past 10 years, some as gifts, so I have a bit of a collection. The oldest sketchbook I have here is from 9 or 10 years ago, from when I was slowly getting back into drawing. Seeing some of my old illustrations is a bit horrifying, but also it made me realize how far I have improved on my art. I do still have several unused or partly used notebooks on shelves or in cabinets somewhere. But for the meantime, let us limit ourselves to this current stash of sketchbooks, pads, and papers. Let us divide them into two main categories. First, my archived for now stash, those that I don't reach for regularly anymore but still have several empty pages on some of them, and I'll probably try to add them to my second stash, which is the active and waiting stash, those that are inside my desk drawers or on my table that are patiently waiting for me to use. Let's start with my archived for now stash. This sketchpad holds a special memory. This is the first sketchbook I bought when I moved to Dubai, and I got this from Kinokuniya. It is a fairly affordable sketchpad that still has a lot of pages left. The paper is expectedly not the best, but it has memories and have stayed with me until now on my Dubai journey. I was trying to do lettering with illustrations using watercolor. I was happy with these illustrations at that time, but right now I could have done better. I probably used the remaining empty pages for random sketches. This one has my first commission work. In exchange for the illustrations, I got the Wacom Intuos Pro paper, which I still keep until now. I didn't have an iPad and Procreate at that time, so I used the Wacom Pro paper for this project. The reason why most of the illustrations here are just outlines is because I color the final digital version of the illustration in Photoshop. A few of the colored illustrations here were for a friend's personal project. I've used up all the pages on this sketchbook, so it remains in my archive stash. Next are this stack of Strathmore sketchbooks. One, I have finished all the pages and the rest still have several pages left. Some of the illustrations here are cringeworthy. I was trying to illustrate every day for 100 days and I only got to 40 before I used some of the pages for my first completed Inktober drawing challenge. Here's a quick flip through of the 40 illustrations. Again, I liked them then, but I really am not a fan of them now. Although I see my progress by looking at these old illustrations, and I do feel proud because if I didn't start trying then, I wouldn't have seen any progress today. And here are the pages for my first completed Inktober challenge. This set of illustrations I still like, probably because of the consistency in the colors and the vividness of the inks, and also maybe because I made the drawing prompts into one story. This small version is my first sketchbook from this Strathmore set. I still like some of the illustrations here. These 3 pages are from when I was in Italy and was sketching on the train. And several pages with an attempt to join an Inktober drawing challenge years before I completed one. And more still empty pages. Last on this archive stash is this traveler's notebook insert. It has illustrations of some untranslatable words or words that I find beautiful. I've had this for almost, I think, 7 or 8 years now. I still have my traveler's notebook but with different inserts. It's part of my second stash. I probably should add this so I can fill the rest of the pages. Let's move this to my second stash then, which is the active and waiting stash. First are my traveler's notebook. This is the regular sized blue traveler's notebook. It currently has the black pages and 2024 inserts in it. I plan to practice more illustrations using black paper. This is my passport-size traveler's notebook, a gift from a year ago with blank and watercolor paper inserts. These are still empty. Let's change that this year. Next are my hobonichis. This is my current everyday journal, the Hobonichi Hon, and some of the pages are filled with illustrations. Most of the time I just write on the pages and stick some stickers, washi tapes, and ephemera, but sometimes if I don't have a lot of things to document or write, I illustrate on the pages as well. Next is a 2021 Day Free Hobonichi. I like painting on the Hobonichi's Tomoe River paper, and this is my first Hobonichi dedicated for illustration, painting, and sketching. These are pages with the original paintings for the sticker sheets I am selling on my webshop. Link below if you want to purchase one. I also journaled my A to Z illustrations of untranslatable words here. It has some of my favorite sketchbook illustrations and also has draft sketches and storyboards for personal projects. I have yet to finish the rest of the pages. Next is this empty 2022 Hobonichi cousin that I have as an extra when the Hobonichi team gave me a replacement twice because the previous ones I received had dents and creases on them. I did not expect for them to replace it twice, but they did. So this one is for when I finish the previous Hobonichi Day Free I am using for illustrations. Next is this Hobonichi Day Free cover, which I inserted with black paper sketchbooks. I've had these sketchbooks for years now and have started writing and painting on several of the pages. I would like to experiment more on illustrating on black paper, and I already have these sketchbooks waiting for me to start. This one I got when I attended a sketchbook at the park workshop in Rome. It is a handmade sketchbook and these were the pages I illustrated on that day. This has good quality watercolor paper, so I'm going to use the rest of the pages. Next are these Moleskine sketchbooks. One is archived, which I forgot to include on the first stash, and the other one is active. An assortment of lettering, sketches, notes, and illustrations on the archived one, which took several years to fill. Here's a quick flip through. while this one has my more recent Inktober or Peachtober drawing challenge illustrations using color pencils and more random journal illustrations, notes, sketches, and drafts for commission work or personal projects. This is one of my current go-to sketchbook. These are sketchbooks from Daiso and Miniso. I just use this randomly for swatching and to experiment with cream-colored and craft papers. I also inserted my dried fiddle leaf fig tree leaves here for future painting projects similar to this sunflower leaf painting. Next is this Leuchtturm 1917 sketchbook. Half of the sketchbook is filled from when I tried bullet journaling with some illustrations for each month. But since bullet journaling didn't really work for me, I'm filling the rest of the pages with sketches. This is a stack of fully empty sketchbooks. One with black pages. As I've shared, I wanted to experiment more with black paper. Another with handmade 100% cotton speckled pages I got as a souvenir from the Little Print shop in Paris. Another is from Kinokuniya, a Totoro sketchbook with blank white pages. And this one is a big version of this small sketchbook that I am currently using all the time. This small yellow sketchbook is what I use most of the time and is always on my desk. The size is not as intimidating to fill, but I usually still end up illustrating tiny details on some of my illustrations here, which is time consuming for a sketchbook practice. I am trying to be more free-flowing, less rigid, and more loose and messy with some of my illustrations on my sketchbooks. Sometimes I fail and it's okay. I have a lot of sketchbook pages to practice more. I just need to always remind myself to be less precious with most of them to lessen my sketchbook anxiety. Moving on, this sketchbook I got as a gift. It's an interesting size for a sketchbook and is one of the few I have that has cold pressed watercolor pages. Next are these watercolor blocks in different sizes. My most used are these 300 GSM Stonehenge Aqua Cold Pressed White Acid Free 100% cotton paper. I'm currently using these for my Christmas A to Z project, so I have stocked up enough for the entire alphabet and some extras. 100% cotton paper for watercolor is, I think, the best paper to work with. This is the Moleskine 300 GSM 35% cotton cold pressed acid free block watercolor paper I also got as a gift. This is the paper I use for this illustration, a combination of aquarelle color pencils and regular color pencils. This last one is the less expensive version from Flying Tiger, a 300 GSM acid free probably cold pressed paper. This has a bit of a sheen to it. This is the paper I use for this illustration using Caran d'Ache's Neo Color 2. Next are the Sketchpads. An Arches Aquarelle Hot Pressed 185 GSM 100% cotton paper that I still have not used. I'm still thinking of a project that I can use this for, as this brand of paper is a bit on the pricier range. A 90 GSM acid-free Fabriano Cream Sketchpad. I love how this illustration turned out. It is a copy of Beatrix Potter's illustration. Another 90 GSM acid-free Fabriano sketchpad for pastels. I'm still getting used to illustrating with pastels, and I still have to experiment on which fixative to use for the illustrations after. And another Fabriano sketch art pad, now for watercolor. It's hot pressed 25% cotton and 300 GSM. This one is the Royal Talents Mix Warm Tone sketch pad that I intend to use mostly for oil pastels. These are some examples that I've illustrated using this paper. The Langton Prestige watercolor paper, it's 140 GSM, 100% cotton and hot pressed. There's only one page left because I've pre-cut most of it for my Polaroid illustrations. Next is a canvas pad for oil, gouache, and acrylic, also from Flying Tiger. I bought this to practice acrylic on a canvas texture but in a sketchpad form. Now for my bigger sketch art pads, a Strathmore watercolor paper, 300 GSM 11 by 15 inches. A brush writing sketch pad I got from a brush lettering workshop in Haji Lane in Singapore on my first solo trip during my birthday week years ago. I can still use this to practice brush strokes for illustrations or for lettering. And a Canson Mixed Media A3 220 GSM cream colored paper that I use for two of my bigger paintings that I still love looking at now, framed and displayed. I'm still thinking whether or not to sell these originals, maybe one day. Last stack are some loose or already cut paper and some works in progress. Strathmore 300 GSM acid-free watercolor postcards, some filled ones, and this one that I framed and displayed on the wall. And loose sample watercolor and drawing paper from Fabriano and Artistico with different textures and weight. Some loose black, white, and cream-colored watercolor and drawing paper. A pack of loose sheets of Tomo River paper, and some already cut Langton Prestige watercolor paper ready for more Polaroid painting like these ones. That's it for my sketchbook, sketch or art pads, and sketch or art papers that I have accumulated for almost 10 years now. I am now more intentional when it comes to adding more to this collection. I think I have enough to last me for the next years. Of course, if there are commission work or projects that need a specific paper, then that's the time I'll add to this collection. But most of the time, commission work are done digitally now. For the meantime, I'm limiting myself to finishing these ones first. That's it. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you've learned something from it. Thank you. Until next time.